Okay, it is so good to have you here today. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm AJ, head planner for Kokate Events, and I am here today with one of my favorite guests. Just a little bit biased here. I'm here with Rachel from CSW Magazine. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Rachel with Chicago Style Wedding Magazine. Been in the industry for way too long to tell you, because that'll tell you how old I am. Love weddings, love meeting people, and excited to be here with you, one of my favorite people.
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into being the director for Chicago Style Wedding Magazine.
So, long story short, or long, the whole first part of my career, I was in financial services, which is not really fun. And then things changed and life changed. And through networking, someone suggested I apply for a job with a specialty linen company.
Okay.
Which I loved, and I loved meeting people and venues and planners and helping people. Things changed a little bit. I left for a little bit there, and this opportunity came to me. I've been a fan of the magazine for 15 years. When I first started in the industry, I met the old owner, as well as all of the people that worked there.
Wow, okay.
And even back then, I joked and said, oh, I would love to do this. I think I'd be really good. And so fast forward, I took over for somebody who was leaving, who'd been there forever, for 12 years, who was fabulous. And so she felt like this was a good handoff to somebody who knows a lot of people, loves to help people, loves to network and help people grow their businesses. So it was a pretty smooth.
For the people who don't know, which honestly everyone should if you're in the Midwest, tell me a little bit about Chicago Style Wedding Magazine and what it does. Like, what is it?
So Chicago Style Wedding Magazine is a resource, first and foremost. Our target is brides and grooms. We try to provide very important information so that a bride and or groom can come to the magazine, look for resources in terms of planners, florists, photographers, videographers, venues, anything you can imagine, but also provide information that, yes, a lot of it's online, but this is just easier to digest. So it's organized easily. It's basically a resource. That's what we try to say. So it's Chicagoland based. It's very hyper focused, city and suburbs. We have a little bit in Wisconsin, a little bit in Michigan for more destination, but overall it's pretty hyper local.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we've known each other for such a short amount of time, but it feels like we've become really good friends in that. Yeah, I used to work with the person who was there before you. I met them last year, and then after our conversation, I just loved it, became part of the magazine. And then when you came in, it's been a phenomenal transition. And,
great.
I mean, you've been doing a great job. So,
thank you. I love to hear that.
I feel like we're talking every week now at this point. So it's always really
and
good.
seeing each other.
And seeing each other. Honestly, we saw each other yesterday. So that's just how it is. But tell me a little bit about what your week is like. Like, what is it like being director for a magazine?
So basically, I'm in my own little world because I have a territory, which is the city and the northern suburbs.
Okay.
So I have several things. I have to handle client needs on a as they come basis. So calls and emails and whatnot. I'm always looking for new vendors to join the family and learn about what we do and how we help people. I do have my own schedule, which is fabulous. So I mostly work from home, but I'm usually in the city. I'm usually meeting people at their offices, trying to see what they do, learn more about them and how I can help. And then I do a lot of networking. So I go to a lot of events, but mostly I hang out and meet people, which is perfect.
Honestly, that's so fun.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
I agree. So, as our viewers have probably figured out by now, today's a very wedding-focused episode as a whole. We're not going as much into the corporate world, which is perfectly fine. But let's talk a little bit about trends. I think trends is something which every couple is consistently looking at thinking about and talking about for their own wedding. Are there any design trends that you've noticed just with all of the vendors and all the things you've been noticing in the publications?
So a lot of the trends, a lot of what we're seeing is everything has been very hyper focused on what looks good on social media. And I think people are so inundated that they're taking a step back and figuring out what they like, what their guests are gonna like, a more immersive experience, right? So things like, let's say like, there's food at every wedding, but let's say like more interactive food, that kind of stuff. Versus, okay, here's a plate with chicken, the usual stuff. I think they're doing being a little bit more creative. There's definitely been an influx of vendors providing faux flowers, faux greenery, and that kind of stuff, which obviously saves them money. Some do it better than others, and some have different styles. And so finding what works for the couple is the integral part of the design.
That makes sense. And yeah, I mean, even I've been noticing the same trends you've said. Like the number of couples that we've been working with who are wanting more live stations, who want a chef there making something for them, whether it's a pasta or grilling meats in front of them, to even, being more unique, almost moving into a little bit more analog sense instead of being as digital as they used to be, because we've gone so far into the digital self. Like, I love social media and I love Instagram, but just being able to physically touch something, smell something, that's something that I feel like a lot of couples are appreciating a little bit more now.
I've seen lately that people are not at let's say, the ceremony, they're not allowing people to have their phones. They're telling them to put them away, be in the moment, focus on the moment. You're here for this beautiful ceremony and the uniting of this couple. You don't need to be taking pictures of them. Let the photographers do that.
Yeah, and it's not like you're going to get those photos, right? Like later. It's not like you're not going to see them. You'll see those photos.
Right, exactly.
I totally understand. And it just makes the space and the environment so much more different.
Definitely.
And I think that goes really well into my next point that I wanted to get into, just overall the concept of guest experience. Guest experience is something which we take very seriously. It's arguably one of our top 2 ethos that we have. And the reason for that is because it's something that we feel has been overlooked so much in the digital age of focusing on how to make everything look pretty instead of focusing on how the experience for a guest should be.
Agreed. I think what we are seeing is a little bit of, it's not just the wedding itself, right? It starts with the invitation. It starts with when they arrive. Do they get a glass of champagne? Are they shown to their seats? What all is going on aside before they even are sitting down for the ceremony, and then continues into the party to the end, late night snacks and all these other things where it's people focusing on, okay, I'm getting married, but I want to make sure you're enjoying yourself and you're having the time of your life.
I love that you said that. The episode before this one is the guest experience before the wedding. So check that out if you haven't. But anyway, no, it's super important. So how do you feel like the overall guest experience concept is something that you've been able to put into the magazine, or how do you vet your vendors in that sense that you're focusing a little bit into the guest experience aspect of it?
So for instance, we're trying to show people that there's different options, right? Like, not every wedding is a cookie cutter wedding. So for instance, we've got people in there that I believe it's WAGs, what they do with their dogs, how they bring their dogs to the ceremony or let them walk around, whatever that looks like. And just things that just make it a little bit nicer and a little bit more intimate. A lot of people are doing a little bit more intimate things because whether it's money, whether it's just desire, whether it's too much information everywhere, it's just kind of nice to focus on who's there. And like if it looks like it's going to rain, and then everybody gets an umbrella kind of thing.
That makes sense. I mean, you have to plan accordingly where, the overall guest experience ends up being that way for sure. And that's awesome. Is there is there a trend that that you feel is actually going away a little bit compared to before in the magazine?
So I think what's happening a little with making these guest experiences better, people are changing the religious aspect of it a little bit.
Okay.
It's not as traditional as it once was, right? So they're incorporating, plus there's a lot of mixed marriages, and so
Right.
they're incorporating both cultures, both trying to please both sides of the family and all that kind of stuff. And so bringing it in to the ceremony, regardless of is it a pastor, a rabbi, a justice, like regardless of who's doing the ceremony, it's making it more about the relationship
Right.
than the religion.
Okay. No.
So it's kind of an interesting, and some people still are very religious and they do all of their things, but
for sure.
just depends on what is meaningful to you.
Definitely. No, that makes complete sense. Awesome. The next part is about what we call insight. So this is for couples who either want to be in the magazine, because you actually have couples in the magazine as well.
We do.
And then also how couples can pick the right vendors through the magazine.
So vendors are very important, right? And when you're planning for your big day and you're spending all this time and energy and money, you want to make sure that you get vendors that fit you, right? Whether it's personality, price, how whatever it looks like to you as a couple. Again, because we are a resource, we have tons of all different areas. With that being said, I sort of feel like a lot of times you have to find the right fit, right? So,
It really is.
for instance, if you're getting married and you're somebody that likes to get answers quickly and you're working with a planner that isn't responding, that's probably not a good fit.
Agreed.
And I think sometimes people don't know that. So a lot of times they listen to their friends or they look at things. A lot of times I'll talk to people and I'll be like, okay, so tell me what's important to you, and then give options accordingly. In terms of the magazine, we can't say who the best planner is or who the best decor is.
Sure.
Because what we think is the best might not necessarily be the best.
Right.
So we try to provide ideas, choices, that kind of thing. In terms of the real weddings that we showcase in the magazine, basically our editor chooses. People do not have to advertise with us to submit real weddings. They can submit real weddings on their own. And it's really a matter of what we're looking for, which could be an outdoor wedding, an indoor wedding.
Right.
You know, we like to showcase LGBTQ community, so various couples within there, different nationalities. And so it really depends. And when you look at the magazine, you see such variety of people,
For sure.
places, different floral, different dresses, different everything. Everything is very diverse.
No, that makes sense. I mean, even I don't feel like our event planning company is for everyone, right? That's why even we have an initial consultation that we do to see if we're the right fit. I don't want to provide my services to someone who I feel like I won't be able to meet their expectations or what they're seeing vision-wise. Maybe it's something different from what we specialize in and just how we do it. And there's other criteria there as well. But for sure. And just having the variety of different types of vendors that you can kind of look at and choose. I mean, even in Chicago House Wedding Magazine, even though we're in there, we're not the only planners in there. There's so many other planners in there. And based off of that, the idea is that you have a good choice of options where you can make the best decision for yourself. Whether it's us, whether it's someone else, just depends on what you're looking for as a whole. So how do you work on figuring out who, with all the networking and everything that you're doing, how do you figure out who the best vendors are for the magazine?
So personally, I like to work with people that I like.
Okay.
And that isn't necessarily maybe the right way to do it, but I feel like I'm out to help people. That's what I like to do. And so if I get along with someone and that we have rapport, then I know that I'm comfortable introducing them to people,
Right.
introducing them to the magazine, recommending them to people so that they can grow their business. Now, that doesn't mean that if I meet someone and we don't hit it off as besties that I'm not gonna recommend them. But I like to see how people respond to people. It's very important that I like vendors that I work with to be responsive and listen and do what they say they're going to do with respect to their clients. Because I feel like your reputation is sort of built on that trust and
sense.
honesty and all of these things that when you're planning your big day, you need people that have those characteristics.
You really do. So then, how do you think couples should approach, once they've seen options for different vendors, how do you think couples are able to make a decision that's best for them on picking the right vendor?
I think, unfortunately, sometimes people rely on budget more than other things that are important. I'm not saying budget isn't important, because it is, but I feel like you need to talk to multiple people in the same area, whether it's
For
three
sure.
planners, unless you talk to someone and you're like, this is it, which often happens. I think with respect to, like, let's say photographers, they're going to be in your face all day long. So if
Agreed.
you don't like them, or you don't like the way they talk to you, or they're going to talk to your grandma, I don't know that I'd go that way. I think if I were to say to my couples, I would say, once you find your planner, listen to your planner, because the team that they will build to make the vision and the day come together, that's their expertise.
Definitely. No, that makes complete sense. And I mean, a good planner goes a long way. So that
100%. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes people don't know all the things that planners do. And a lot of the planners that I've known over the years go above and beyond. And sometimes their clients don't even know what they're doing, all the things that they're
For
doing
sure.
or can do.
No, that's
Yeah.
definitely true. I mean, we tell couples all the time, we have a 300-point checklist that we go through for every couple for their wedding, and they're like, why are there 300 points? Are there that many aspects? And they're like,
Yeah.
yes, there's so many things. I mean, we're doing things that people don't expect sometimes. Like we're even dictating where photographers are standing at certain aspects of the day, which is something where other people, some people are like, I don't care, but it's like, but if you want that photo that you've been looking for, and you only get that photo once for that moment,
Yep.
we want to be there and be more involved in that process. That way you're happy at the end of the day with what you're receiving. So,
And I think that's awesome, because I think sometimes people don't get those pictures or don't get the group photos that they want because they thought about it, but they didn't tell anybody, or they didn't write it down and hand it to the planner or whatever. And I think the planner is very integral
For
in
sure.
the day, and putting together the team that best fits
Yeah.
the couple and their vision.
And I love, another thing I always notice, because I get the magazine like all the time, every new edition that comes out, I do see that there's consistently new vendors and different people in there. So that means that, I mean, you're showcasing so many different kinds of vendors in there, whether it's even like a magician, or, I mean, there's so many things that you just wouldn't expect. How do you go through and kind of figure out what meets the vision or mission of the magazine with the vendors that you pick?
It's sort of hand in hand, right? Because we're trying to provide a resource to people. So if, let's say, there's a dog walking, not dog walking, but a dog aspect, and so many people are bringing their dogs, we want to show that, right?
Right.
If there's the faux floral, we want to show that this is an option, and here are some people that do it. Sometimes they come to us and they want more publicity. They want to get their name out. They want, the thing about the magazine is it builds credibility, right?
Right.
So currently in the Chicagoland area, there's lots of stuff going on with, well, in the world with AI. And one of our photographers did a video where she showed her picture that she took, and then she showed live during what AI did to it and how it changed. So what we're seeing is with AI, you don't really know what to believe.
Right.
And so somebody can say, oh, I'm a planner and I do this and I do this, and people hire them and they send them money and they're really not. The magazine checks these people out to make sure they're legit.
Yeah.
And if, thankfully, we haven't had anybody that hasn't been legit, but again, AI is just sort of.
It must make your job so much harder, honestly, with having to figure this out.
Yes, but that's above my pay grade. So I let the publisher and the editor handle that. But most of the time, because I'm out and about and I meet people and I see people and I go to their office and I know I can kind of tell if they're legit or not.
That's fair.
So, but I think the magazine nowadays is even more relevant and more credible because it's legit. You're looking at it versus just going online and being like, oh, is this person, they say they plan, but who knows if they do.
Okay. So then let's shift it a little bit. Now we've talked about vendors and trying to pick the right one. A lot of couples have the goal, they're like, I want to be in a magazine. You know, I want a wedding that's magazine worthy. Like that's the concept that you hear all the time. Editorial is the term that's thrown around a lot. I mean, it's been trending. Everyone's wanted to be in a magazine since forever. It's kind of like, you're like, oh, I had a wedding that wasn't a magazine. And you have couples who are in the magazine every edition, whether through different features or aspects, specialty pages that you have in the magazine and all that. Are there any criteria or anything that you like to tell people of that helps them or benefits them in being in the magazine?
So sometimes if there's a unique story with it, like I don't know if it's being featured or not, but there was a sax player who got married. So for Chicagoland, that's exciting. Great. I think sometimes people think that it's the grander it is, the better chance you have of being in the magazine, which isn't necessarily the case, because sometimes simple and beautiful. I think a lot of times it depends on what else we're seeing. So if we're seeing all outdoor weddings, then we need some indoor weddings. If we're seeing all banquet halls, we need hotels or unique venues like, 360 Chicago or City Cruises or something where it's different, where it shows a little bit of diversity.
Right.
I don't know that personally I really know what she's going to publish, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit of everything. What I will say is if there's something unique about it, whether it's the decor is unique or the style or the location, that has a better chance of getting featured.
Okay.
But we're not a pay to play, so people can submit and hopefully get their stuff in the magazine.
Sure. So then, do you have any recommendation for couples who say that they want to have a magazine worthy or editorial wedding? Do you have any recommendations or suggestions for them to be able to achieve that?
They should hire an amazing planner that can make it look fabulous, not overdone, in a unique place and unique pictures. So not always the standard couple standing there taking a picture head on. Some unique things.
No, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, no, that sounds great.
And a lot of photographers know how to do that. And so we have a beautiful city. Let them figure that out.
For sure. Definitely. One word that's always thrown around in terms of getting into a magazine is you have to spend the money. You have to, the luxury. I mean, it has to be fancy. But there are many instances actually where people with smaller budgets who are having more intimate weddings, they're still getting into magazines.
Yes, 100%. So the word luxury has been a buzzword, and luxury for some is different from luxury to others. Luxury for some is having a wedding on a huge yacht. For others, it's in a backyard. And,
Right.
and the key is that we cater to all types of clients, right? We want our readers to see that they don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to be featured in the magazine. There's plenty of places that are these hideaways, you don't know about them, they're hidden gems, and we feature them too. A lot of restaurants. It's very I think with the way social media is, it is showing money, and that's not necessarily the case, because you can have a beautiful wedding and not spend a lifelong and go into debt for 10 years.
And that really is, I think, where kind of budgeting is really important. I mean, you can throw money at weddings, but it's about knowing where to put the money exactly and exactly how you're doing it. Like,
and that's what the planner's for.
That really is. I always tell couples, like, no matter what I mean, we're working with couples who have a budget that's 5 figures. We're working with couples who have a budget that's 6 figures. And even couples who have extremely high budgets, I'm still talking to them about things like reusing florals later and things like that. And you're like, my budget's so high, why do I need to? It's like, but it's investing and putting better value into what you're spending, and you're able to make it you're able to go further with that money. So
that's probably why they hire you, because you come up with creative ways to help them. Just because they have a huge budget and they have tons of money doesn't mean they need to spend it.
Exactly, it really doesn't. I mean, we're doing a wedding coming up where they're going to be getting olive oil that's from a little village in Greece, and it has little information on that bottle about it, and it's personal to them. And guests are gonna enjoy that. They're like, I got olive oil that's really
love that
in the middle of nowhere, stuff like that. Or we did a wall for a bride of hand painted tiles from Mexico, because it was just, she was from Mexico and she grew up in a house which had colored tile floors.
Nice.
So just making a little photo booth wall of that, like, that was money which we felt was well spent and really helped personalize and make, and that 10 by 10 made a much bigger impact than just investing heavily into decor everywhere.
Which goes back to the experience.
It really does go back to the experience.
Because then it feels homey and it feels purposeful.
Right.
Like they made it that way versus just winging it.
And completely agree. Let's talk about social media, because social media is hot right now as a whole. As I'm sure you're aware, there was recently this whole big thing about a photographer in Chicago who has been using AI for all of their photos, editing it out, pretending like they had weddings in certain locations where they didn't, or taking someone else's photographs, digitally altering it and using it as their own. There's pages and pages and pages of this online about it. Tell me a little bit about how that's affected you guys and what you've been using in order to tackle and work with that that issue as a whole.
So our team has to look into all of that, right? And make sure. And a lot of times, most of the time, the people that we work with and that are in the magazine are reputable, right? With there being so much AI out there, you got to know who to trust, which in turn makes the magazine a better way, not better necessarily, but an integral part of people's marketing, because it gives you credibility. It gives you brand awareness and credibility, as well as you're sharing these images. Our team is looking at them, making sure. A lot of times there's people that are submitting fake stuff to magazines, and our editor is very aware and knows how to look into all that to make sure. So a lot of times, if let's say we have a client that's maybe a venue and they're trying to create their ad or their profile on our website and they don't have ample pictures, we go to the photographer sometimes and say, can you sign off on this?
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure that our people have enough
For sure.
pictures and whatnot to show. With that being said, I think that consumers are getting smarter, and it makes an in-person or a Zoom even more important and prevalent to make sure they're seeing this person. This is a legit person, and showing them information, showing them maybe timelines, or showing them pictures of past weddings they've done or at this location to sort of build the case like, I'm legit. And unfortunately, it's a shame that that's where the world is.
Right.
Where you have to prove your legitimacy as a business owner.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, we always put a curated portfolio, even on our website and everything. And we are very, very careful about what we post and what we have, the photos that we're able to, that we're allowed to, that we have permission from the photographers as planners to be able to do that. Making sure that it is our own content itself. We definitely don't want to ever touch anyone else's. But no, it is very difficult for couples to figure out what exactly is real versus what isn't, and what actually is legitimate versus not legitimate. So, and honestly, that also comes in even from the aspect of like how you actually take that vendor, and how they're marketing themselves versus how a couple is able to make the right decision for what is the best actual vendor for them. So tell me a little bit if you have any ideas of how a couple can look at what actually is really good marketability versus just really good service. Because there's a lot of vendors out there who do a phenomenal job, who are not marketing themselves well at all.
Right. I think it's a combo, right? Because a little bit it goes back to meeting someone. Because I think if you, depending on how good you are at reading people and hearing what they're saying and listening and having them show you their portfolio or whatever it is, I think that we, again, try to show all different types of people and vendors and what they do. And we try to show them at their best, right? That doesn't always happen. Sometimes there's an ad that doesn't look good. I think everybody is doing so much on social media that it's diluting what everybody's thinking and feeling and seeing, because there's so much and they're inundated. And I know from talking to many people, let's just say in their mid to late 20s, that are soon going to be getting engaged, they're tired of social media and they want to talk to somebody and really dive into what that person does. There was a story recently that I heard where a planner was going to post something on social media, and a lot of planners show a beautiful table or the bride and groom, and really behind the scenes is the spreadsheets and the timelines and all of that. Putting all of that together is a lot more than just the pretty picture. And I think that the couples are getting wiser to that and saying, okay, well, just because in this picture it looks fabulous, it might not necessarily, that might not have come from that vendor.
Right,
They're just more aware.
Yeah, and you definitely have to check it. You have to vet it. You have to just talk with them more. And sometimes couples are going to make a decision which they're not going to be happy with at the end of the day. And that just is how it is, right?
Yep.
What do you think couples, I mean, there's so many different answers to this, but what do you think a couple should do if they feel like they picked the wrong vendor?
Run,
yeah.
I mean, I think it depends on how far out and what the obviously money ramifications are. I think sometimes people need to realize this isn't the right fit on either end. And whether it's the vendor firing the client or the client firing the vendor. And I think sometimes people are afraid to do that. People are afraid to ask themselves the hard questions, like, is it more trouble than it's worth, kind of a thing, to deal with this person. And I think vetting is important. And I think that also, again, goes back to talking to the team of people that's being assembled for your big day and figure out, okay, who are the best options for me? I remember when I got married a million years ago, the photographer he had a great personality, and he and we had great banter. And the night before my wedding, my grandma fell down the stairs.
Oh no.
And it was a trying day. And I got the wrong flowers delivered on top of that. And he just made it easy. He made it, I mean, he was funny, but he just, he sort of went off of my aura and what I was feeling. And I think that's important to work with people that understand you and maybe can read you a little bit. And I think sometimes brides and grooms, and grooms and grooms, and brides don't necessarily think about that. They're either thinking about, okay, well, my friend hired that person, so I'm hiring that person, or that person's $3,000 when these people are $5,000. I think there's more important things than budgets and all that kind of stuff, like just to make sure that people get what your vision is.
For sure. No, that definitely makes sense. And yeah, it definitely is about prioritizing what's important to you and then putting the money there versus, I mean, I have couples who are like, I don't care that much about the photo booth area, but I want to spend $6,000 on it. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, if it's not that important to you, then don't put the money there. Make it as cheap as possible and put the money elsewhere in what's really important.
And sometimes that's the interesting part of what people choose as the most interesting part, what they want to spend their money on.
Right.
Like some people it's food, some people it's music, some people it's who even knows.
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely agree. So then, I mean, we've been working for a little bit amount of time, and you clearly vetted me for this process to get here. What did you like about us that I mean, we've been talking so much, so hopefully I'm on your good side.
You are. Well, first of all, you guys are responsive, which is personally to me one of the more important things, because when I'm reaching out and I need something or have a question or whatever it is, I feel like if people are responding to me, then then they're going to respond to their clients. I'm not a vendor, I'm not a client, but I can help in a lot of those ways.
Right.
I feel like you guys do so many different things that you and your team are a great resource for. Even if you don't do it, you can find somebody that does it, or partner with somebody, or bring somebody in.
Right.
You're very open to different vendors, even if you do something like, let's say decor, you guys do decor, but let's say you have a client that needs something bigger than your team can handle, whether that's because of quantity of people or budget or space. You are smart enough to be like, okay, we can do this, but we're going to be stretched thin, so let's not.
Right.
Let's bring in this person or this company and let them help us with it to make it run smoother and be more cost effective. And
and the main reason I asked is because I hope that the information you gave on what you like about us is what other couples look at for when they're looking for a planner as well. Like, they should be looking for someone who's responsive. They should be looking for someone who knows their abilities and is able to work around that. I mean, those are things that, I mean, I always say, like, you can always learn. And I've seen so many vendors who have the ego, who feel like they're on the best and they're on top. And sometimes that works against you, you know?
Yeah, I was having a conversation with a planner not too long ago, and he was saying how some of the younger generation don't know all that goes into planning. And so they were waiting for somebody else to do something, like the timeline. And the hotel said, oh, well, we don't do the timeline. You know, we make the food, we set the table. And so I think sometimes finding people that have the experience is also, they don't have to be 85 years old with experience, but a little bit more experience, and whether that's at the venue that you're having it, or with the photographer, bringing people that you know, again,
Right.
with the team, having the experience to know what you can do and also know what you can't do. So that if you know, if you talk to a client and you're like, oh, this is going to be a problem, I don't see this working, don't get into it.
Right. That is how
So
it
that
is.
you don't have to fire them later or vice versa.
Yeah, no, I have clients that I don't work with. I feel like there's always that balance. You have to find the one that works for you. And I mean, there are some things that the couples that we work with tend to skew towards. I mean, like we usually work with couples who are a little bit more involved in the whole process with us. It's just because we do so much of the design aspect of it that we just need that. And that's something that we feel like. So when we have couples who are like, I don't want to be making any decisions, sometimes that's not the kind of couple that we just are able to work with because we really love that input. That's why we're meeting them so much. I mean, we're spending realistically they're spending hundreds of hours with a couple before their actual wedding day. And that's why we have meetings with them every other week or monthly because we're doing that part. But that's not for everyone.
Right.
So
right.
that just is how it is. So then I know that I know we're consistently talking about the different things that Kokate Events does because I feel like planner is just a small portion of what we do as a whole. Tell me a little bit about what the perks, advantages, or disadvantages are of working with a planner who does more than just plan.
So I think some of it also, I think it depends a little bit on the couple. And like you mentioned, if they don't want to make decisions, then they need a planner that's going to say, this is what you're doing. And I don't, and every couple is different. You know, if they're working full time or they have high level jobs, then they need someone to make decisions for them. Here's my budget,
Right.
go. I think sometimes it's hard when planners do so many things because the client might not know all those things. So there's things that, let's say, you and your team can do and they're thinking they have to source it elsewhere. For jewelry, for instance, you work with jewelry people, and so they don't need to go and shop on their own.
Right.
You can help them make those
Right.
selections and make it a little bit easier, probably save them time and energy, but they might not know that.
Right.
So getting that across, and there's some planners that are really good at logistics.
Right.
So if they're moving a lot of people from, okay, it's at this church and then we're going here and then we're going here, then you might want a planner that's a little bit better at logistics. I think it's asking the right questions, and a lot of times it's a very emotional thing. And instead of coming from a thoughtful side, you're coming from an emotional side.
Right.
And so if you meet that planner and you're crying and that planner hugs you and you feel comfort, you're like, great, okay. They still might not know what they're doing.
For sure.
But if you have that rapport, I think
Definitely.
that is a good basis.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that applies pretty much through the whole, other vendors too. Like when we look at photographers, like you said, people don't realize how much photographers are around you, especially for your wedding day. You need someone who's comfortable, who you're comfortable being around, who you are fine with talking to the way that they are, and that they're making you feel calm, and you're not like, I don't know what I'm doing here, like it's kind of weird here, that kind of thing.
And everybody wants the day to be perfect, right? I mean, whatever perfect is. And I think there's always things that go wrong, no
Always.
matter what it is. And if you have a good planner who has their pulse on everything, then they make it seem like there's no problems. Like if, let's say, the timeline's off and the food's supposed to be out 10 minutes ago and blah, blah, blah. Okay, tell the DJ or band, play another song. And I think that's what people should think about when they're working with a planner and a team. Like, are they going to make this seamless for me where I can just come, show up, and be a guest and enjoy?
No, there's honestly, a planner has two parts. There's the part before the wedding, and then there's the wedding day planner. And even like knowing who you're going to be having as your planner the day of your wedding is so important. I mean, I've been to weddings with, I've attended weddings where the planner is not the same person that's been planning the entire event. It's a complete separate team, and they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that's why even we're very strict about, like, we specifically make sure that we have the people who have been helping you plan attend your wedding. So that way, they're making decisions for you when something does go wrong. Because yes, no matter how much we plan, with plan A, plan B, plan C, something's gonna go wrong, and having a good planner there, it really is very important.
100%. And I think a lot of times it's when people think that they don't need a planner, and they are like, well, I'm gonna hire all these people. And I always say, okay, and who's going to make sure that all of this goes together? I tell people all the time, and when people say I'm day of only, you don't know what's going on day of.
Exactly.
You don't know what the contracts say. You don't know the timing. You don't know the flow. You don't know who's who. You don't, and so it's really hard to step in and make it seamless.
Yeah, I mean, even we do some what we call day of coordinations, but even that starts 2 months before.
Right.
Like, we're meeting with vendors, we're understanding the vision, we're making sure it's a full educational lesson that we're going through to make sure that we're able to make decisions for the day of. I mean, there's so much involved in it.
Yeah, and that's what people need to know. That's what the couples need to know, where it can't just be, okay, I'm going to hire you, you're going to show up, and you're going to make sure everything goes smoothly, because it doesn't work like that.
No, it really doesn't. No matter what event it is that we do, that's for sure.
That's true.
One part of social media that honestly I've dealt with my entire career is number of followers on social media.
Okay.
So a lot of people are like, hey, the more social media followers you have, the better you must be, right?
No.
Tell me about that.
So I think it's more about the engagement than it is how many followers. So for instance, I was at an event recently and I met a makeup artist and we're talking, and she says to me, follow me on Instagram. And I said, great, absolutely. So I follow her on Instagram, but then I take a picture of her information and I email it to myself. Why? Because just because I'm following her doesn't mean I'm going to recommend her, doesn't mean I'm ever going to find her again, doesn't mean she's going to know me or anything about me or the magazine. And so I feel like the young people in the social media world are like, I need as many followers as I can get.
Right.
And I think it's more about engagement. If you are hitting the right people,
right,
and you are targeting those people versus you have thousands of people that are following you, but they're not really seeing it, what's the point?
Yeah.
And we recently brought on a new social media person for the magazine. And so over time, she's going to be showcasing all of our clients and all of our vendors and kind of showing a little bit more about them. But just because you have 1 million followers, are they even seeing what you're doing?
And honestly, are they even legitimate followers at
Well,
that
that's
point
true
too?
too.
Like,
that's true too.
It's a huge thing. I have a big love-hate relationship with social media.
I hear you. I hate it. I hate it.
It's been a thing. I mean, even with us. So we started our company in 2022. We were actually running fully word of mouth for the first 2 years. We were so busy that we were like, I don't need social media right now. Like, whatever, that's fine. But within like a couple of years, we were reaching a point where we had people who, and even vendors who openly would be like, you don't have the number of followers required for me to work with you, which was insanely crazy. And that's a little bit on the extreme side, but it is something that did happen to us.
Yeah, that is extreme.
So we were very much in that sense. But then even when we, 2024, we moved to Chicago and everything. It's been great since most of our couples have been here, and we're like, okay, let's focus a little bit more on social media. So we've been working on our social media a lot the last year and a half. Funny enough, the first time I met the director who was there before you last year was at an event where we were advertising people, and at that time we had recently launched our new Instagram, and we had 33 followers. And yet, even from having 33 followers, we got along really well. We're transitioned here. We have a few thousand followers now, so we've grown since then. But it was very nice to see that we were still being seen based off of our previous portfolio, which we felt was worth more at that time than the followers that we had, just to make it to this point that we are.
Right. And I think that's important because just because you have, it's two things. You have followers, again, are they legit? And are they even seeing your stuff versus actually showing what you're doing? So for people that are looking for you, it makes a little bit more sense. I think a lot of the younger people are about like, how many followers?
Right.
And I don't think that that's necessarily a good indication of experience, business knowledge, or the ability to work with them.
Right. And it's something that we've been taking care of a lot. Like even the followers that we have, we are checking and trying to see as much that they are legitimate people. Most of them are other vendors that we've worked with or want to work with in the future, or others who just want to learn about us, or who we want to work with them, or couples who just want to see what we're doing, learn about the process, see some design inspo and ideas and things. And we do our best to try to control that even with the followers, so we don't just have randomly inflated numbers and things like that. So we feel very proud of and happy with the fact that, yes, we probably have a few thousand less followers than some other people who have thousands more, but we also know that the followers we have are followers who we actually feel are important and necessary for the industry.
Well, and you care more about like the right fit than just the fluff of the numbers.
Exactly.
And I think in this day and age, there's a lot of people that, I think in the past they've been about that, and I think that part is changing too.
Yeah.
Because just because you have 1 million followers doesn't mean you know what you're doing.
It's completely right.
Because there's the thing with social media too is there's no barrier to entry. So just like AI, people aren't going on social media and putting bad things about themselves. Everybody knows that it's all glorious.
For sure.
So is it legit? Not necessarily.
That definitely is the case. Yeah, no.
Well, for our editorial shoots, which is basically a photo shoot with models and in a certain location and different areas in that location, we have had content creators. So I believe the magazine as a whole gets that and is starting to include them. Our issue coming out in July, we haven't had a videographer in there for a while, and we do this time. And they're a fabulous husband-wife team, and it's great to have them be there and show all of the event or what's going on and the behind the scenes and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, having a content creator is actually really useful, and having some sort of video form is just pretty useful. Even like another thing that we do, which honestly sounds kind of crazy, is we turn all of our couples engagement photo shoots into styled shoots. We do that because it lets them work with some vendors before their wedding day to kind of understand the feeling and the mood. But then they get hair and makeup, they get outfits, they get a stylist, they get florals, they get have videographers there. We have content creators there. It really makes it fun for the couple. It's an experience then, and it also gets them more comfortably acquainted. And honestly, the results come out way better too. You have photographers and videographers who have a lot more fun aspects and other creative things that they're able to be around. So it lets them overall just produce better content.
I agree. I think they're, as long as they're not monopolizing the event, right? Like they're a little bit behind the scenes and that kind of thing. Because I think sometimes there are some that get in the way.
No, definitely, for sure. And yeah, I mean, and I'm sure there's so much behind the scenes footage that you guys have from your events that you're doing and styled shoots and all of that. So completely get it. You specialize in Chicago weddings as a whole, and that's what the magazine is really focused on. So tell me a little bit about the Chicago wedding industry as a whole from the perspective of what are unique aspects of it that couples you notice are gravitating towards or gravitating against.
So that's a good question. There's a lot of, Chicago's a great city, a lot of historic places, a lot of, it's great for photography, right? We see these couples the day of their wedding or their engagement going all over the city, dragging these poor photographers to take pictures and on the rooftops and on the lakefront and all of that. It's a big market, but yet it's not, because a lot of the vendors know each other. A lot of the vendors work together, and it's unique in the sense that because there's so many different places and areas, for instance, like there's so many neighborhoods, and the diversity of people. So everybody can find what they want in the Chicago market. Doesn't have to be the rooftop of a hotel. It can be a farm that has beautiful chandeliers and country backdrop.
Or like brick industrial, you know, I mean, you can get any type of venue here.
You can, and that's what's nice. In terms of lately, because Chicago is a big city, it's a little bit more expensive. So people are a little bit either going out to the burbs a little bit, potentially going up to Milwaukee, where it's less expensive, less traffic, and their vendors will go with them.
Yeah.
And so that's not a problem. But they're maybe making their wedding smaller to have it at the place they want. Do they want to have it at the Museum of Science and Industry? Maybe, but then they gotta cough up the money for it. The thing about a lot of the Chicago venues also is that they're complicated.
They are.
So when people are looking at that, they need to take into consideration the extra they're paying for that. Like if they're having something at one of the Chicago Park District places, South Shore Cultural Center, or one of those places, they need to understand that, okay, well, they can use this caterer, but it's going to be same day in and out. And so the rentals are going to cost more, and all their guests have to pay for parking. And so there's a lot of things you got to think about. And I think the planners need to share those events. For instance, a few years ago, I helped out a planner friend of mine, and it was an event at the Adler Planetarium the same weekend, the same night that Dave Matthews Band was playing. And there was a ton of traffic, and everybody got there late, and the food was delayed, and it was a ripple effect.
Right.
Had they hired the planner from the beginning, the planner would have looked at that and said, okay, just so you know, you have it on this day, this is what you're gonna deal with.
Honestly, yeah, that's the one thing with Chicago. Our venue, they're a little bit more complicated than it could be, for sure. Even when we work with couples who are doing full end-to-end planning, we honestly spend we've spent 1 month figuring out a venue. We've spent 6 months figuring out a venue. There's so many moving parts. So a lot of aspects where we're going back and forth continuously with the coordinators at those venues. And it's something that we've noticed as a place of improvement for the Chicago wedding market, is just the openness of what you can do and how you can do it in that space. Even that's something that we've been struggling with a little bit.
Well, what we're seeing lately is a little bit of a shift to restaurants that have space, because the food's there, the tables are there, the chairs are there,
Everything's clearly outlined,
and it's just a lot. It's a lot less moving parts, and there's so many great restaurants that people don't even know about, that they have the space to do events.
Yeah.
And so
sometimes you're surprised with things. I mean, we worked with a couple where they were really happy with the venue, and they were about to sign the dotted line, and they noticed in the contract it said, by the way, any vendor you use has to give 15% extra service fee to us. And we're like, that was never informed beforehand. So those are things that couples just don't expect, and that 15% makes a big difference at the end of the day in terms of your budget. So sometimes it's really hard to ask the right questions or know what questions to ask. So having someone who can definitely guide you through that process and help you there is something which is very helpful and beneficial.
That's a huge thing that I think a lot of vendors, when they haven't worked in Chicago, learn. Mostly planners, because there's a lot of venues and caterers and whatever that all have their hand out. And I think, and vice versa, there's planners that do the same thing. And sometimes it's like people need to charge what they want to make.
Exactly.
And these extra fees and commissions and all these things, it's unfortunate that people need to look at that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we have, a full budget template that we created for couples, so they can input what their budget is, and it breaks down exactly what we expect them to be spending on various aspects in the Chicago market specifically. Actually, we built it out so based off of what we expect the Chicago market to charge, and it's surprised. They see so much of, like, the service fee's crazy, this gratuity is crazy, like all this, it adds up. Like, I thought I was spending $100 per person, and how did I end up at $220 per person?
Well, because ultimately it's probably 30 to 40% more because of the commissions, because of the tax, because of the gratuity, because of the service fee or whatever, and then they're like, what happened?
It is crazy, and it's something that a lot of our couples, I mean, everyone notices that. When I got married, I noticed it too. It's why even we're very upfront with our pricing. We actually include service fee, tax, gratuity. Everything's already included, preset in our pricing. So what you see is what you pay. We're actually a fixed fee company in that sense.
That's amazing.
Which is, I know, very every planner I've ever heard is always like, why are you fixed fee? Like, you should be percentage based.
Well, I think the old school planners, the people that are like 55 and up, let's just say in terms of age, their philosophy is anything they touch, they want to make money on. Even if they do nothing, which I don't necessarily agree with.
Right.
I think the younger planners are more in tune to, well, I'm going to charge what I want to make. And then there's the middle area where you work with this linen company and you get a discount, and either you can take that discount and pad it to your profit, or you can give it to your client. And a lot of planners that are showing their clients that, okay, look, if we use this vendor, I'm saving you this.
Right.
It makes them feel better that the person they're working with is trustworthy, is honest, and is trying to help them get the best bang for their buck as well.
Yeah, so being a fixed fee company, the way we stagger it out is we actually do it by guest count. So we do it that way and we have like ratios, like this many guests, this is the price. You go up a tier, it becomes this price. We do it, and couples usually know what their guest count's going to be, pretty relative when they start off the process as a whole, or they'll figure it out. We do it that way, but that way they know exactly what they're spending. They also know exactly what they're getting with that money. They also know that when we're making recommendations to them, because we have vendors that we like working with, but we don't require you to work with any vendors. The reason we do that is because that way when we're making recommendations to them, they know that we're making recommendations because we actually feel it's a good fit for them, not necessarily because they are a higher price point that we'll be able to pull something from. We even always show the contracts that they're signing, and like if we actually, so that way they know, like if there's any commission or anything going through, we actually funnel that through too. That's something that's been big for us. We don't want to be taking money from the couple in other formats or other ways. We really do want to make it as clear and upfront and honest as possible. And that's something which we do feel like we're a little bit different in that sense compared to a lot of some other people in the industry, but I also see a lot of trend of other people who are also following that same trend because they really want to be more upfront and give couples that level of trust that you feel is really necessary when working with another vendor.
Well, I think it's about being transparent. And I think that a lot of times people, and again, sometimes I see it on social media where this planner uses the same vendors for every single event. That can't make sense. And so what makes me think is that they're getting a commission. And so this is why they use that caterer, this is why they use that florist, and so on, because of that reason. And I just don't think, personally, ethically, I don't think that makes sense.
So, so then going back to Chicago a little bit, are there any trends or anything you've been noticing in Chicago specifically? They're like, oh, this has been very Chicago, or if you've been noticing people gravitating in a different direction?
Well, they're doing a lot smaller. They're doing, again, more experience based. They're doing, a lot of the places are a lot of, like I said, restaurants and places that have everything versus bringing everything in. We just have so many great options.
There are.
And I think there's places that people haven't known do weddings. For instance, the Art Institute. It's beautiful.
It is.
They have
it
a
is really
beautiful
cool.
space there. So they do weddings.
One trend that I've noticed, which has been in my time here, which I thought is very interesting, is the number of venues that are now allowing outside catering more than they used to. Previously, they were much more strict, like you have to work with these 6 or 7 caterers. Now I've seen a shift where they're like, yes, you have to give a service fee from that, but we'll let you work with outside catering companies as long as they meet certain licensing requirements and insurance, understandable there. So then with them moving over to the more, allowing more outside caterers, I feel like it's actually opened up a lot more couples to be able to get married in that space. Especially with us, we do so many multicultural weddings. They have specific cultural foods they're looking for, whether it's South Asian food, Afghani food, whether it's Turkish food, whatever, or European food, whatever it is. The fact they're able to bring that into a venue makes them so much happier and actually helps them consider that space more.
100%.
Than they used to be able to.
Well, I think there are so many more couples that are multicultural. Thank you. And I think that allows them to do what they want versus, okay, we're going to hire this caterer that does American food, but you don't want that. You want your grandma to have something that she loves and grew up on and makes everybody feel like home. And I think there's, the planner has to find some of those places because it's not always who you think is doing it.
Yeah, and there have been some absolutely gorgeous venues that my couples will just not consider because they can't get the food they want. And it's crazy that venues are willing to not get that business just because they're being so restrictive on
I think
food.
if it's a venue
by a restaurant itself, or like owned by a restaurant, that's understandable there.
Right, but I think some of the venues where the caterer owns it and they have been so selective in saying, okay, well, we're doing all the food. I think if it's something out of the realm, like it's kosher or it's South Asian, it has to be 100% gluten-free or whatever it is, I think a lot of them are getting a little bit more flexible in that, like you said, which I think is smarter. Because I think they're doing themselves a disservice by being so focused on, we're doing the food and this is what it is.
No, for sure. I definitely agree. So then, since we're talking about Chicago as a whole, even though I actually wanted to touch, even being in the magazine itself, the concept of destination weddings for couples who live in Chicago. So one aspect of it is couples are always like, hey, if I'm getting married in Cancun, Italy, that means I need to find a planner there. I need to find everything there. That's not necessarily the best case. Actually, picking vendors who are in Chicago is beneficial sometimes in that sense. Tell me a little bit about how you've approached destination weddings for couples who live in Chicago but want to get married elsewhere.
So there's a lot of planners who, whether it's they have family at a certain place or they vacation there, and they sort of get the feel for the lay of the land, right? And they know the good places, they know the good florists and who's reliable, versus picking a hotel at random and calling their planner. I recently talked to a friend whose daughter's getting married, and she gets 1 hour of planning with with this destination planner.
How do you plan a wedding in an hour?
Exactly. And so I said that to her, and I said, how about bringing someone from, they live in Orlando. So, and I think sometimes people don't know. Your planner will probably fly there with you. Not a problem. You cover the costs. And a lot of planners that don't even publicize or advertise or whatever that their destination can do destination.
Yeah.
And I think if you're good at what you do, then you find those people. And again, goes back to trust and maybe referrals and their response time and all of that to come up with an option there. I think nowadays, a lot of these kids are like, I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to go somewhere. But it tends to be a lot more moving parts.
Right.
And demanding on your guests.
It is. And I mean, and there's so many other aspects that you also can actually be planned here locally. You don't need to go to the other country to figure out your outfit. You can figure it out here.
True.
And just take it there. It'll probably be easier, actually.
True.
Things move around, things get shipped. You can alter here and all that kind of stuff. Even decor, if you want to, we design out, for the weddings that we do internationally, we design out a lot of that aspect here, and we just reach out to vendors who are there, like, hey, this is what I want. Can you make me this? You know?
Yeah.
Instead of having to go through that whole process, because the logistics is the part that takes time. And the more of that you can figure out here actually makes it easier when you're over there.
Yeah. And the expense of getting it here and bringing it there versus finding it there. And a lot of countries are so much less expensive than here.
Right, for sure.
So it's easier.
Yeah, it can be easier in that sense. But another aspect that I always see, which I think is always interesting, when they're like, "Hey, I can get a planner in Italy anytime for $1,200," and I'm like, I hear that all the time. I was like, I should just get. It's like, it's $12. You guys are charging so much. It's like, yeah, but they probably have a restricted vendor list. You're only within that. They're definitely taking a cut there that you're not aware of. So you have to learn and you have to educate and see which. I mean, there are great planners everywhere. And sometimes, a lot of times, picking a planner in that country for destination weddings is the right choice. You just need to know and educate yourself what makes a good planner versus a bad planner for you there.
Well, unfortunately, I think sometimes they don't know. They don't know the questions to ask. An interesting thing in our magazine, in each section, we have what to ask. So what to ask your planner, what to ask your venue, what to ask your florist, what to ask your bridal salon, your makeup, so that people know these questions. And various venues that I've been to, they're like, oh my God, this is life-saving. If every person asked me these questions, it would save so much time on calls and emails, because it's just easier that way.
Yeah,
and they don't know they don't know what they don't know. And so if the more information that they're given and the more prepared they are for the process, the better it is for
sure.
everybody, for them and the planner.
Yeah, no, definitely makes sense. So then, for Chicago weddings as a whole, even the ones who are doing it destination and their couples here in Chicago, have you ever considered having a section in there for destination weddings for couples?
We have it. It's very small.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Very niche.
Yes,
market,
it is. It's
sure.
very small. I mean, there's some places in Lake Geneva and Milwaukee. There's a couple in Michigan. I don't know that a lot of the destinations see the value in it, because I think they're thinking, oh, well, if I get one wedding, versus being in the magazine and on our website and everything will create, they'll see their names more. I recently ran into somebody who I used to know, who I knew, who was a hotel person here, and now she's representing a hotel in, I think it's Bermuda. And we talked about it. She's like, well, they're very specific on who they advertise to.
No, it makes sense, and that is how it is. I mean, but yeah, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, we work with a few hotels in like Cancun and for weddings and things like that, and no one would know that unless we talked about it. But
Right.
sometimes it's really cool that we are, and they're like, oh, I never actually thought about getting married there, but I was planning on getting married in that city. I just didn't know that I could get a planner here, but you can.
Yep, you can.
It definitely is a process there.
But I think sometimes I just met someone recently who all of a sudden is a planner, a destination planner.
Ah, yes.
And my thoughts are, how do you just all of a sudden say that? You know?
Yeah, how do you know the process
Right.
for it?
If
for
you're
sure.
from another country or you travel to that country or city often, and you can show that, then I think you're a credible person for
Right.
a credible prospect for that. If not, I wouldn't hire somebody that
Yeah,
isn't from there or hasn't been there,
no,
and
it definitely makes sense.
just saying, "Oh yeah, I traveled there." That doesn't.
No, it makes sense. I mean, it's a reason why we even do weddings in India. It's because we go there. We actually have a lot of couples who are from South Asia, so we actually have a lot of couples who get their dresses made there. So we go there,
Right.
work on the dress process and custom dress process and all of that kind of stuff. So we're able to have weddings there because we are actually going there. We go there every year, even outside of weddings, and we're meeting with dressmakers, we're meeting with other vendors, we're meeting with venues there too still. So we're still working on building those relationships. I'm not going to say that we're going to be able to do an event in Tunisia today because we have never been there.
Right,
But
right.
it's something that we definitely will and hopefully be able to do in the future, but is something that we understand that we also have to educate ourselves better on being able to provide that service in the future. For sure.
Yeah, but you're open about that, so I think that people get that from you and your team, that it's not, you're willing to learn or you're willing
Sure.
to try. And if you had a client who came to you and said, "Oh, I want to get married in Tunisia," you'd be like, "All right, let me figure out who I need to work with there."
Yeah, and sometimes sometimes I'm even upfront in that aspect. It's like I've never done a wedding there, but it's something that I'd love to explore with you if you're open to it. Like we've done weddings here, here, and here, and this is how it's approached there. We would try something similar with this, and hopefully you're okay with that. And
Right,
that's just how
right.
it is. And yeah, sometimes being upfront and honest in the beginning, honestly it saves your life makes it so much easier down the
Totally
process.
agree with you.
We had a couple recently who was like, this is my budget and this is what I want to do in Chicago and these are my restrictions here. And I was like, I do feel like what you're asking for is a little bit aggressive in terms of what we feel is actually approachable, doable, but it's also something where I know you have some ideas and I do think they're really good ideas. I'd love to explore them with you. And I think we could go on this process together and maybe and hopefully we can make this work. But it's not something that I can promise. And I'd rather do that and set that expectation beforehand than be like, oh yeah, this is easy, piece of cake. And later they're like, none of it happened.
Yeah,
You know?
under promise and over deliver.
Honestly, we could talk for hours. I mean,
We usually do.
we usually do. And that is how it goes. So we have to wrap this up in some way.
Okay.
So 2 final questions. First of all, what are the final thoughts, something that you'd like to provide to couples in order to help them pick the right vendor and have the magical wedding that they're envisioning?
So I would say by far the right fit. There's lots of things that go into what that means, right? Is it they are familiar with the venue? Is it they work with your personality, their ethics, their response time? For some people, it might be, do they have a lot of followers? And I think figuring out what is most important to you, and then finding someone that balances that out. In terms of a little bit of everything. Sometimes you don't know, right? You don't know. You meet someone and you like them and you think they're going to do a good job, but maybe they're not understanding what your vision is.
Right.
And so that could be a problem. Sometimes it's a matter of, unfortunately, finding someone wrong to getting to someone right. And a lot of times, figuring out what's most important to you and seeing if the planner, the photographer, whoever the vendor is, gets that.
Yeah.
And if let's say to them, let's say budget is the most important, then sometimes you get what you pay for. Right. And so you might not be getting someone with the most experience or the most knowledge of the city or the vendors or whatever it is, but sometimes you just have to make do. And I think I always believe in following your gut as well. If you meet someone and you get along and you like them and you vibe with them, I think, you know what? It's gonna be a good final result.
Honestly, gut goes really far. It really does. Sometimes using logic is not the way to do it.
Especially when it's emotional, like a wedding, where in your mind you're thinking, okay, well, I had a vision of this is what my planner was going to be, and in this box, and it's not. This person fits better.
For sure. No, definitely. And then what final thought do you have for vendors in the industry, just in general, about catering to the right couple and being able to showcase their work and what they're doing?
Transparency and honesty. I think that a lot of people say they can do all these things and they can't, or they haven't before. Now, obviously, everybody has to learn at some time, and every event is different and unique, and people are different and unique. And so you need to try to embrace their uniqueness and what their vision is, and try to attract couples that get what you do and what your focus is. And if, let's say, your focus is on banquet weddings and they're very cut and dry and you do the same thing for every person, somebody who wants something different, that wouldn't be a good fit.
Right.
And so I just think there's a lot of vendors out there that say they're gonna do something and don't necessarily follow through. And so
no, it makes sense. Definitely play to your strengths for sure.
And be honest. And if someone says, can you do this? And if you can't, guess what? There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know, or I'm gonna find out, or I'm gonna learn.
Yep, that exactly is how it is. I mean, we do the same thing. I mean, we do so many different things. It's always like we're continuously just learning how we're doing it. Someone's like, hey, I want a stage, and we're like, okay, we haven't done it, but let's figure it out, and if we can't, let's figure out someone else who can get that for you. It really is a process even for us, but with that, it definitely is something where we're like, hey, let's go through the process together, and it's going to be really fun, for sure.
And plus, if couples find vendors that they understand and they have a rapport with, and vice versa, then it's just easier all the way down.
It definitely is, and vendors who are very clear and upfront about what they're doing, those are honestly the easiest vendors to work with. It really is. Even when I recommend a vendor, I am recommending those who I feel are going to be a good fit and also are going to be very easy to work with.
Agreed.
Definitely, for sure.
That's why a lot of times in the magazine, people that I work with in the magazine, I like to introduce them to each other because I feel like I think I'm a good judge of character. And so if I like you and what you do and your team, I think you're going to get along well with this person.
Right.
And that's sort of how I have always been with my connections.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having
me. Appreciate it. It's always great talking to you. And
thanks, AJ. You
honestly,
too.
I hope you had fun.
Of course.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on this episode of Events Koka-Lattes. See you in the next one.